Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular, the AWD1100 C# Programming Fundamentals class, I've been doing a series of video presentations based on the textbook for the class, which is Muroc C# 2015. So far I've done lectures on chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm partway through chapter 6. In addition, I'm doing lectures that are based on a mythical payroll system that I'm creating that kind of dovetails or coincides with the different chapters in the book. And I'm doing that two ways. I'm doing it both as a console program and as a GUI program. So we're in the working our way through chapter 6, and we were just talking about ref variables. And I mentioned how when you pass something as a ref variable, you don't have to pass everything as a ref variable. You pass nothing as a ref, one or more as a ref, all as a ref. All right. There's also something that's called an out variable. The difference between a ref and an out is with a ref, the value can be set ahead of time. With an out, it normally is not. I'm not going to show outs right now. We'll go through an example of it at another time. All right. The events list for a text box control. If you don't know this, if you want to know the default action for any control, be it a label, a text box, or a button, as an example, or even the form itself, you just double click the control and it brings up the default action. So if I double click this text box, it would bring up this text box's text changed. All right. Putting that in is pretty neat, because one thing that you literally can do with that, let's say I wanted to force the user to put in a number, and if they put in something, they can put in a number or a minus sign or a plus sign. And if they put in a minus sign or a plus sign, just one of them, let's say. All right. I can set it up in here that if they put in something that's illegal, let's say a blank or an alphabetic letter, we can put code in our text changed event that will disallow that from happening. And that's what they're showing here. So we'd be calling something called clear future value that we could write to do anything. Now the stuff that's in here, as far as wiring up an event, most of this stuff that's here, just FYI, happens behind the scenes. So we don't have to worry about it. All right? As far as wiring stuff up, so when the system knows what goes with what is what I'm talking about. All right? Again, there's nothing wrong with this. The author does an exceptional job of going through this and tells you how you can wire stuff up yourselves. I think it makes much more sense as you're learning this for us to just do it. That's the way I'm going to show it to you. All right, so I'm not going to go through any of this stuff. I'm not going to go through any of the designer stuff. The only thing I will say is the stuff that's in here, by and large, I tell students never, you can look at this file, but I tell them never to touch it, never to manipulate the code that's in there themselves, because it's a good way to screw up the program. All right. Excuse me. All right, so that's pretty much it for chapter 6. So I'm just going to show you very quickly. I don't even need to save this, so let's just exit if we're asked if we want to close the solution. Do I want to stop debugging? Yes. Don't want to. If they ask me to save, I'll say no. What I'm going to do here is twofold. All right. As I've been going through this stuff in here, let me jump back. I've got my own folder that I've been playing around with called C# Programs Done. And so here are my consoles for the one I wrote for chapters 2 and 3. I made a copy of it for 4, made a copy of that one for 5. So I'm going to make a copy of that one. And that's going to be Chapter 6. Now, what I did not do, and I wish I would have, all right, so I wish I would have called this one Payroll GUI, and I didn't. I mean, I could change it now, but it's going to only change the name of this folder. The internal folders here, their names will not be changed. But you know what? That is just fine. So right now, as you can see, I've got a GUI for 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've got a console for 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 6. So let's make a copy of my one for 5. And we will call that one, instead of 5 copy, it'll be called 6. All right. So I now have GUIs for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm trying to figure out why that one is placed there, but it's okay. And the same thing for here. All right. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. And it really doesn't matter if I do the GUI first and then the console, or the console first and then the GUI. I think I'm just going to do the console first. So when I come back in just a couple minutes, because this is a very short lecture, it's at 7 minutes right now. So when I come back, I am going to take that. I'm going to take the program that I have been working on, interesting, that I just copied over, which is the GUI for Chapter 6, which, and I'm going to go and I'm going to modularize it. In other words, and you know, this is an evolving process. So will it be perfect? I don't think I ever write perfect code. But if you notice in here, this big, big, long, hairy butt routine, this input values. So this routine that looks like it's never ending ends at line 147. It starts on line, it starts on line 36, so it's over 100 lines long. So I'm going to fix that. Then when I get done, I'm going to bring up, why don't we just open a project here, and we'll come in and we'll open up the GUI for Chapter 6, because I'm going to do the same thing. All right. Ideally, when we come in here, what I want to the reason I'm showing you this, and it won't, some of these changes will be very superficial looking, but if I double click on exit, I don't want my code to be there. All right. And it's going to be something as simple as I'm going to grab this code, cut it, and put in here, for example, exit program or not. Now I'm going to get an error because I don't have a routine called exit program or not. You'll see as soon as I put that in and put in my curlies, boom, the error is going to go away. Now I put the code in here. And again, as I mentioned to you before, you look at that and you go, well, what's the big deal? Well, now I can call this from any place in the program without having to call the click event for a button. So I'm going to come back and continue along that path, starting with my console program in just a couple minutes.